some very, very simple examples. One, I've always mentioned that right from the beginning that it's not revolutionized the way I develop workflow and how I develop locally. So from the start, I want to show you how I would get Docker up and running as a developer, and how I would start getting some Docker containers, or images of Docker containers going using Docker Compose. And from there, we're also going to have a look at some examples, obviously looking at PILW-IO, we'll look at having a look at setting up containers there, and one of the other features, the one-click app feature. Now, there's a little bit of a joke I've been saying for a while. It was decided that for simplicity's sake, we'd use Wordpress as the demonstration. Anybody that knows me for long enough knows that I fucking hate WordPress. But it's a popular platform, we've all heard of it. So we decided, you know what, it's simple enough to set up. I'm not going to go and set up a Symfony application for you guys or a Rails application. Let's keep it simple, keep it sweet. And that way, obviously, we can keep the knowledge level to at least the bare minimum. Sure, there is one thing I need to do very quickly. Okay, so from a development perspective, I mean, as I mentioned, all the examples are going to be using Docker Compose, especially at least from our local perspective. So from a development perspective, we're going to need to start with one or two things. We're going to need three things. We think about it, just to get cracking off. In fact, let me take a step back. Let's think about it. A WordPress environment, what do we need? What services are we going to need to start getting going? We're going to need a web server. We're also going to need some type of storage. And obviously we're going to need PHP. And then we're going to need source code as well. So four things available. And through the use of the magic of Docker Compose, environment variables, I'm going to have a working WordPress environment up and available for you guys, hopefully fairly quickly. Please do not let this be like that Bill Gates clip on YouTube where things go blue screen pretty quickly. It would be rather embarrassing, but hopefully it should go pretty smoothly. Do you guys, by the way, all have an editor of some sort? You can even use TextEdit if you're on Notepad or something like that. I'm on PHP Storm from JetBrains. I'm a huge fan of them. I've got VS Code as well, but I just prefer PHP Storm. Pick the editor of your choice. I would just, if you will, just follow my examples as we're going along. Obviously you can't see what I'm typing as we're going through it as well. But to kick things off, the first thing we're going to probably need, of course, is WordPress. So I need you guys to go to wordpress.org. And click on the Get WordPress link. In fact, I'm actually going to get away. What am I thinking? Let me take you through another step. Have you guys opened up a Docker Hub account yet? Everyone got one, or do I need you guys through quickly? Okay, we've got Docker Hub. There's one command I need you guys to run quickly, and that's just to log in to Docker or Docker Hub. So I want you guys to do the following. In your terminal, or in a command line, whatever you wish, type the following. Docker login -u and your username. It will immediately ask you for your password. Hopefully you'll see something like that. Login was successful. So we're now just connected into Docker Hub. I was thinking, yeah, well, originally we can download a copy of WordPress. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we go on to Docker Hub, you'll notice there is an official WordPress image So we can do this one of two ways. We can either set it up with the official WordPress image. In fact, I think we'll do a mix of the two. Let's get the WordPress content, and likewise we'll use the official image to provide things like Apache, and likewise obviously PHP as well. And then likewise obviously we're going to need a data store of some sort. So hopefully this will start summarizing a whole lot of the stuff that we've been going through so far. So firstly, let's download a copy of WordPress, as I mentioned before.
So are we going by Docker Hub?
We'll use Docker Hub to get some of the images for these services. Our source code will come from WordPress itself.
Still get the source from WordPress.org.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you guys just want to download WordPress, password not working? Alright, if you look inside my screen so far, I have a little project set up.
Yes.
Sorry? Yeah, sure. There you go. It will immediately ask you for the password afterwards. Anyway, hopefully you guys have managed to log in. Create yourself a project folder that you're going to base your work off, and copy that WordPress folder when you downloaded it into the main project folder. So to give you an example, you can see my main folder is under, well, I have a main folder called WordPress demo, and inside there I have the content of WordPress.
So, maybe perhaps go a bit too fast for me. So I've just logged into the terminal to Docker.
Sure.
And now what do we want to do?
We need to go and create a folder.
Just on the desktop or something?
Wherever you want to work.
Okay.
Have you managed to download the WordPress content already? It just extracts the content inside the folders. As I mentioned, you'll have a main working folder, inside there a subfolder called WordPress. You all there? Yeah. You'll have a main folder that you're going to base your work on. Yep, you need to extract, and then you should have a subfolder called WordPress inside there. Oh, it's the ship platform. I've always said I can't stand it, but yeah, it's nice and simple to set up. Anyway, we're all there? Everyone set up so far? Right, what's our next step? We want to start getting Docker Compose up and running. Then we can start defining the images and containers that we're going to start using. So first, inside and at the top of your root folder, your main work folder, I want you guys to create a file called Docker dash compose. And as we mentioned previously, Docker compose is based on YAML. To be honest, I'm not bothering with the entire Git thing. Obviously, you guys would normally need to deal with that on your day-to-day basis. This is not a Git tutorial. I'm just leading you through the Docker process right now. Yeah. Right, move that file open. We're now going to start doing a few things. Firstly, how to Docker compose. We need to define the version that we're going to start using. And we're going to be using the latest version 3.7. So I need you guys to type the following. Your first line of code. We'll add a little comment as well. Just so you guys will have a point of reference. Adjust the brightness of the screen. I don't know if I have control over that. Do I?
Well, if you hide your top line, it will go down.
If I hide my top line.
Yeah, the version text is. You see now it does. Look at the screen.
Yep.
Move your mouse up, get the highest right and do it like that.
Check your battery.
Now it's looked at the screen. Now it's
Yeah, it's very brighter typing when your mouse.
Trying to think what the alternatives are.
We need to keep typing.
I don't think so.
Okay, jumping back. Right, so we've defined our Docker compose. And the other option, like to switch to a light background. Okay,
The light background would be
Ei naapurilla. Anteeksi tulla, että mä sen paremmin. Jaa. Ja täältä tulee. Better.
Everyone see now? Okay, cool. So we defined our Docker compose version. As I mentioned previously, Docker compose does change pretty regularly, so this really just helps us keep track of which changes we're being able to integrate. The next thing we want to start defining, or I like to start defining, it doesn't have to be in this order. It's just, for me, a matter of personal taste, but I like to start defining things like my networks and my volumes. So the first one that I'll start off with are my networks. So I added my networks option, hit one line down, and I like to define two. Front end and back end. And in fact, we're going to go and define the driver type as well. As I mentioned, we'll be using the bridge driver, which is the simplest. Docker networking can be a pain in the ass in terms of or can be quite complex in terms of its networking options. Sorry, remove those hyphens. They're not meant to be there. Right, so we have our networks defined. Front end and back end, I'm sure the name should be pretty self-explanatory for you. We have a front-end network, we have a back-end network. I use the back-end network just to hide certain things. You don't necessarily have to. It's just a matter of personal taste for me in terms of isolation. I also need to define some volumes. I need at least one to kick off. And that's going to be for my database. So we'll call it MariahDB. And we're going to use the file system driver in order to just store things locally. As I've mentioned or touched on briefly in the past, we do have the option to use things like S3 storage as well, and a variety of others. You can actually roll out your own as well, but we'll just use file system for simplicity. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, is volumes then the alternative to mount?
Yeah.
And it's just random name at the moment, it doesn't mean anything. It said MariahDB, right? That's the point of it, it doesn't define anything specific, it's just name, right?
Yeah, it's just a name. That it's going to map to. I'll have a service.
And it's saying about this front and back end, it's also just names.
Yeah, they're just names that we give it. I just like to make them descriptive based on the functionality of the service. So the names in this case are purely preferential. You can call them anything you felt like. They're just points of reference. So right, we've defined networks. We've defined a single volume for the moment. And that's for MariahDB, which we'll be using as our database. Because obviously we don't want to have an issue of persistent storage being lost if we need to rebuild. Here comes the fun part. We're going to start building up some services. Now, as we mentioned, we need a web server, we need PHP up and running, and likewise, obviously we need something for storage, in this case, Wordpress. What am I saying? MariahDB. So right, next, we define our services. The services are where we're going to start defining the actual containers that we're going to start building up. What you will find is in each service that you will give an arbitrary name. You can call it web, you can call it DB, you can call it WordPress, you can call it whatever you feel like. I like to keep them as consistent as possible. I generally like to name them after the image that I'm basing them off. So my first one that I'm going to work with is WordPress. WordPress, as I mentioned, already has an official image which we are going to base our WordPress image off. So, to start it off and to make things light and simple, we're going to go and type in image. And if we go to Docker Hub, there we go. We have WordPress. You'll notice that they have a number of different images that they have built up with a variety of different operating systems. They have a variety of different PHP versions, likewise some specifically for CLI work, some PHP FPM, some built-in through with Apache. So let's see if, and as I mentioned, I always like to work with Alpine where possible.
So, from the main Docker URL, how would you navigate to where this WordPress is on the main Docker web page, landing page?
Sorry, can you repeat the
From the
question?
main Docker, from the main hub.docker.com landing page, how do you then navigate to where WordPress is?
Just search for,
Search for WordPress.
yeah, up to the top there's a little search box. Just enter WordPress, it will come up. So right, let's see what we've got. We've got an Alpine. No, they don't. But we'll keep things nice and simple.
I can see the word.
It's Alpine, but it's PHP FPM, so there's a lot more setup work. So we'll keep things nice and simple. But we'll take their latest image, which happens to be got by a variety of different tags, and we can use PHP 7.1. So for our image here, we're going to type in WordPress. So that's the Docker Hub repository that we're working with, and after that, we need to specify the tag that we happen to be using, or the image in this case that we happen to be working with. And we said it was PHP 7.1. Alright, so what eventually when we do run this, all it's going to do is go hook up to Docker Hub, pull that image for us. That will provide us with an Apache web server. It'll provide us with PHP and all the appropriate PHP modules required to get WordPress up and running. And the filing setup, we mentioned in the past, is keep things nice and simple, and likewise, where possible, use a nice simple base image. Alright, what else do we need? We need to start mapping some volumes. Because this at the moment is going to be a development type environment. So that I can start developing my code. Now what I need to do is set up a bind mount to say that WordPress folder that we copied and pasted into our main directory is now going to be available inside the var www HTML directory inside my Docker image. So, in order to do so, we start defining a volume. So, volumes dash. Bear in mind, this is going to be the syntax for a bind mount, not a name volume. We'll set up a name. We already have a name volume from MariaDB. We do not have one yet. We're not going to be using one for WordPress. This is a development environment. We want to be able to make changes in our IDE and have them propagated immediately, or almost immediately, into our running container. So this bind mount will be our solution here. So the syntax for the bind mount is going to yes, you have questions?
Sorry, isn't this image that we are declaring here exactly the same thing as we downloaded from the
No. This provides you with services like Apache, PHP, and PHP modules.
Right.
But it's kind of, it's giving you the services that you, minus the DB, it's giving you the services that you would need to at least get an Apache server up and running so that you can actually start working with the actual code itself.
It includes the thing that you downloaded from WordPress.
No. Because obviously, it doesn't really make that much sense if you think about it, because people are going to start making their own changes to WordPress because they want to go on. So we can start mapping, especially from a development environment. We can start having our own WordPress base that we can start working with, mapping the bind mount, and we use it providing the services that we can locally launch, make sure that the changes and so forth are actually available. So it's not going to give you the source, it's just giving you the services, the basic services to start running it. However, it is common convention, by the way, especially with a lot of official images, they will not include a database server. It's more than likely you will have to wire it up yourself. Obviously, there are a wealth of different storage options available. We have MariaDB, we have MySQL, Postgres, we have Pacona. WordPress really only works with MySQL type variants, so it's either MySQL, MariaDB, which is my preferable, or Percona. So we're going to work with MariaDB. We'll get there fairly shortly. It's just start getting our bind mount ready for WordPress. So the syntax for a bind mount needs to map from your host to where it maps into the container. And let me show you how this is going to work. We start with our base directory. And we know that we have our WordPress directory. So it's going to map that WordPress directory on my host to, and by the way, in case you weren't aware, Apache's default directory to serve HTML content is var www HTML. So there's the example of a bind mount. As I mentioned previously when I was going through the log chat, I mentioned that bind mounts allow you to map physical files and folders on your host system into the actual container themselves. So especially from a development perspective, that's really the ideal way to work. Otherwise, if it was consistently named volumes, you would have to rebuild for every single little change of code that you made. And that's obviously, it becomes time consuming and tedious. So as a developer, you want to be quick and smooth, so yes.
What is dash does in front of it? Sorry, very question.
It's just syntax. To define it. YAML is as far as I remember being it's a superset of JSON, so it's just defining a separate object or array object. So we have our volume defined. In fact, we pretty much have WordPress defined for the moment to start off. We're going to take this further as we go along, and I'm going to make a few changes once we've got the basics up and running. But right next, as I mentioned, this WordPress environment will give us Apache and it'll give us PHP. That's it. We now need to define a database server to work with. And as I mentioned, we're going to use MariaDB. So we need to define, in fact, that is something I need to do. I mentioned previously that for us to have this web server available, I have to publish ports. So far, that would build, just wouldn't be able to access it. Because port 80 is going to be sitting behind Docker. So we're going to now go publish the port so that it is available for us as a service. So we use the ports option. And it's always generally, in fact, by the way, syntactically, you will always consider the idea of it being host first, colon, and then whatever it happens to be in the container. It's the same thing with bind mounts, it's the same thing with volumes, it's the same thing with ports, and likewise with expose. So just remember, host, container. So, we know that we know that HTTP, or we need port HTTP open. Look, to be honest, I'm not taking it as far as, and start setting up Let's Encrypt. I want back into local environments, so that would never work to begin with. So we'll keep it simple and keep it at port 80. Then, as I mentioned, we need one other service, and that is our database service, in this case, MariaDB. So we're going to now define a new service, MariaDB. Again, the name is arbitrary. I like to name it after the service that I create. So if I was creating a pure Nginx container, I would name it Nginx. If it was after pure old Apache, it would be Apache. So I have a container that I've arbitrarily named WordPress as a point of reference. Another one for MariaDB. We're going to start getting that working as well. And again, we need an image. We're going to use MariaDB, and we're going to use the latest version of it.
Does the second MariaDB have to be the same
arbitrary. I need my volumes, my networks, and so forth, just so that to provide me with some type of context. So that volume I am eventually going to map to MariaDB service, but it does not have to be the same name. You can call it anything you feel like. Alright, taking it a bit further, we're now going to come back to volumes again. We have a binder for WordPress, but we want persistent storage for MariaDB. So now we're going to make use of our named volume. We have our named volume called MariaDB that is set up. So let's make use of it. And we called it MariaDB. Anybody know where MariaDB or MySQL tends to store its data? Var lib MySQL. But as I mentioned, following up from what I said previously, we have a named volume on the host that Docker will manage on its own that is going to map to the var lib MySQL data directory within our container. And again, just to come back to it, the reason that we're doing this is that if we do need to rebuild, we're not going to lose all our data. That we don't have to, especially in a production environment. Can you imagine accidentally rebuilding and you've lost a couple of years worth of data and now, and by chance, hopefully this isn't the case, but you aren't running regular backups. Not going to be an idea. Yes, sir.
So why is that WordPress volume prefixed with /, and MariaDB is not?
Okay, remember that the WordPress one is a byte counter. Now let's map it to a folder. So the // just means my current directory, and it's mapping to that WordPress folder. So what it's really looking at is the // reference here, and then inside there. But the MariaDB is an arbitrary name that we actually just created, so it doesn't necessarily map to a folder. Docker will, depending on your operating system, it will decide where exactly it's going to go and store the data.
It's also the same as with the form. So host and
yeah, pretty much always going to be, in fact, always host, and then whatever is inside the container.
So line 23 and 24 is the mapping of the data so that we don't lose it if ever we need it.
Yeah. So far we've mapped out our image that we're going to use, we've mapped out our persistent volume so that we don't lose our data. What's next? In fact, do we want to expose MariaDB? That's another question. Do we want to keep it nice and hidden, or do we want to make it publicly available so that maybe if we have the MySQL client installed locally, we can connect into it? I'm actually not going to. I think we'll add PHP-MyAdmin as an additional service as well, so that we can, if need be, we can go and browse whatever we need to. So we're not going to map any ports just yet. MariaDB's image will expose the default ports. Anybody familiar with them? 3306. You don't need to define anything. They are already exposed within the image. In fact, we do need to go over to Docker Hub quickly. Let's have a look at the official MariaDB image. And there are some environment variables that we need to define. We've spoken about these before. They allow us to dynamically, at runtime or even at build time, set certain parameters for us. What do we need? Kind of things we need to set up? The user, the password, And I'm sure you guys would imagine we don't want a nice loose open root password either. The variety, we've got actually two options with the root password. I'm going to go with the simplest, unless you guys wish otherwise. In fact, I know I have a security note in front of us, so let's go with something slightly different. Right, let's start defining our environment variables for MariaDB. Right, very similar syntax to volumes. It's really going to be, in this case, the environment variable, and then followed this time by the value. So you guys can follow along with me here. I'm going to add variables for my user password, and likewise, we're going to have a dynamic root password generated as well. When you guys eventually bring the containers up, it will print out that dynamic password, which they normally tell you, copy, paste, and save somewhere secret. The other option, as I mentioned, the easier way, if you want, is you can define one manually. In fact, I'll take you through the environment variables and just, we can point them out. There we go, MySQL root password will let us set one by hand. We can actually choose the physical password itself. God help us if it's something like root or password. The MySQL database allows us to define a database that we wish to create or have created for us when we bring it up. We're going to do that obviously as well. So we're going to be using that one too. The MySQL user and password, I think you guys could probably figure out, just literally allow us to create a MySQL user account and a MySQL an associated password for that MySQL user. And continuing a little bit further, MySQL allow empty password, God help us, we shall never use that. Allowing us to use empty passwords to get into our container. We're not going to go near that. It defaults, so we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, because we want to be nice and secure, we're going to use the MySQL random root password. So right, let's kick it off. Firstly, we need to use MySQL database. And let's call it WordPress. After that, we need a MySQL user. Let's call him WP user. Or anything you want. You guys obviously don't have to use the exact same values as me. I'm just being simple and lazy. But we're just going to define a user that gets created for us. We also need to define a password for this user. And I'm going to be super lazy again. And just use that. Yes, I know it's not secure. Obviously, in reality, I would develop, we go generate a secure password and use that realistically. But just for simplicity's sake, I'm going to use something nice and easy to remember. Alright, so one big security thing we did want to do is use the MySQL random root password. Which, as I mentioned, if set to yes, will generate a random password which will be printed out to the console when we bring everything up that you are meant to say using LastPass or whatever you guys use to secure through your secure information. And obviously not forget. So we're going to set that to yes. And that's our environment thus far to get MariaDB up and running. As I mentioned, we're not going to publish any ports. We could, but we don't have to. We can have it sit quite happily on its own. Oh, by the way, so far, I have not done one thing, in fact, two things. I have not mapped our two services thus far to either of my networks. I have two networks defined, front end.
Question about .NET file.
Yeah, oh, we're getting it.
If .NET file is used, are those environment files automatic?
We'll have to plug them into Docker Compose. I'm taking it baby steps at first, and then obviously from there we're progressing, we'll start using the END files instead, start mapping things out. Alright. So thus far, we had two networks that we defined. We had front end and we had back end. I'm sure you guys can figure out who belongs where. Variety DB, we're going to keep in the back. Obviously, WordPress we want in the front. But the networks themselves are separated. There are two unique networks. So for WordPress to communicate with MariaDB, it actually needs to exist in both networks, front end and back end. So let's add that in quickly. There we go, there's WordPress defined, and we'll do the same. For MariaDB, but he is only sitting on the back end. So far so good. There is one other thing that we can do as well with this official WordPress image that I only noticed now. So we're going to go and do that. There are some environment variables that we can use for WordPress to dynamically send certain information for us. So alright, let's go and add those in quickly. Let's switch back to WordPress. You guys will notice I have several environment variables that I can start using. I need to define the DB host. I can define the database user that I wish to use from WordPress. Likewise, its password and the database name. And if I wish, there is normally a default WordPress prefix of WP underscore that it uses for all of its personal tables. We can define that as well. I'm going to leave that out. We're going to define the DB host, DB user, DB password, and DB name. So right, first, let's go back to WordPress and we're going to go and add in our environment. Anybody guess what our WordPress DB host name is going to be? I mentioned this right in the beginning, earlier when I was talking about some of the benefits of Docker's networking.
Just MariaDB.
It will create, especially at least with Docker Compose, it will create a DNS-like entry based on the name of our service, MariaDB. So our DB host will be MariaDB. Docker will automatically be able to figure out, okay, yeah, that DB host, MariaDB, actually maps to the MariaDB container that we define. If we call MariaDB just DB, the host would be DB. As I mentioned, from a networking perspective, Docker is going to work it out and it's going to give us nice, easy to use domain names, if you will, to be able to refer to, for different containers to be able to connect and refer to different containers. But I still want to keep with MariaDB, so I'm going to change that back to DB. Our next one, DB user. No easy guess here, or no difficult guess. I defined a WordPress user for MariaDB. I'm sure you guys would agree. We want to start using the same user from WordPress. And I'm pretty sure you guys could probably figure out the pattern. for the password. And likewise, the last one that we're going to add the WordPress DB name, which we call WordPress. So far, what do we have? By the end of it, should have three containers built up. One that we call WordPress, another that we call MariaDB. And you'll notice that we've done some mapping using environment variables just to make sure that we're using the correct database name, likewise the correct database credentials to be able to connect. There'll also be a nice little dynamic root password that's defined. And we made sure that our port 80 is exposed for WordPress. I just want to double check one thing quickly. Sorry. Ooh, yes, I made a mistake. I'm glad I checked. Please change your volume driver to local, not file system.
Can we somehow check that ports are exposed on for WordPress to use those ports?
There's two ways.
Because you kind of knew it, but like if I have to figure it out on my own,
There's two ways you can do it. One depends on the image or at least the repository. Let's have a look at WordPress. MariaDB. They do not have their Docker file available.
if you click
Oh wait, they do actually, yes. Yeah, the Docker file that they have posted on GitHub. So what I would normally do, or one simple way, there we go. It exposes second to bottom line, it exposes 3306. The other way to do it would be to build up the containers that we have in Docker compose, and there's a command I can actually show you where you can actually see which services are running, and I can tell you exactly which ports are published, and likewise which ones are exposed.
and the Dockerify for WordPress knows to use these ports. What if you wanted to change that? But there's probably an argument.
Right?
I mean, the Dockerify for WordPress right now knows that it needs to use these ports for communication with MariaDB, but if we want to change that, there's probably an argument for changing the port, if we wish so.
Let's actually check. Technically, yes. I think you could actually, yeah. You could use expose and Docker compose that would map your own port to 3306 in the container, and you would have to then just define the DB host where to use the exposed port. You can also just publish it and define a different port as well. In fact, I'll have to show you a subtle difference that we're going to do now that have PHP-MyAdmin. You got PHP-MyAdmin that wants to default to port 80 as well. And I'm sure you guys will know from experience you cannot have two different services running on the same port. So we're going to have PHP-MyAdmin running on port 8080, which it seems to be a common trend as well. So right, continuing our final service then, just to knock this off. Is going to be called PHP-MyAdmin. Again, I like to name them after their functionality or to give them some type of context. In fact, sorry, let me try and scroll up a little bit for you guys. So we have PHP, made a syntax error. Sorry, I am human, as much as I wish I wasn't. But right. We have PHP-MyAdmin that we've created. Again, this is the stress, it's an entirely arbitrary name. You can call it whatever you feel like. But it's going to use the PHP-MyAdmin list. You'll notice, by the way, at certain times, the repository names and the syntax that you need to use to refer to images differs from time to time. Sometimes it'll just be something like PHP colon and the tag you want to use. Sometimes, in the case of PHP-MyAdmin, they actually have an actual repository, and then likewise the images are almost like a sub-repository inside that is separated by a slash. So hence, you'll notice the image name for PHP-MyAdmin is suckily different. By the way, if anyone's wondering how to figure that out, Docker Hub should normally be able to provide it for you. Right, PHP-MyAdmin. Also need some environment variables. Sorry?
Network defined.
In fact, it's going to need network defined. It's also going to need ports mapped. We're going to create an anonymous volume for that as well. So that as an example, I can actually show you what the differences are. Let me run through a few basic commands. But in fact, you can notice here, you can immediately tell either from the Docker pull command that we have on the right, or just from the naming convention, how you would actually reference that image inside your Docker compose file. You'll notice, you might have noticed that MariaDB was literally just MariaDB. PHP-MyAdmin decided PHP-MyAdmin / PHP-MyAdmin. It is a matter of personal preference really. But right, PHP-MyAdmin, you can say we're going to use the latest, and there are, as I mentioned, a couple of environment variables that we need to work through here. So we're going to use PMA arbitrary. I like to define it. It's not a transfer. Sorry, let's actually define our volumes first. You'll notice now, by the way, this is going to be an anonymous volume. We define a named volume for MariaDB. Just for kicks and giggles, we're going to create an anonymous volume. And the only difference here is it lacks the host portion. I've always been going on about host container. Now it's just container. And the only one that we're doing is one called sessions. The only reason we're doing that, by the way, is that because PHP-MyAdmin has a tendency to use its PHP sessions, so you end up getting accident all three repeatedly kicked out. So we're just going to go and create an anonymous volume for fun, so that we don't get kicked out if we need to. And as I said, we could make a named one, but I just wanted to show you an example of how to create an anonymous volume, which I mentioned previously in the lecture. So we have our volume. After that, what do we need? We need our environment option. Oops. And our environment variables are here, PMA arbitrary first. We'll set it to 1. Our PMA host. No prize for guessing what it's going to be. For the boast, we can leave PMA ports. What's MySQL's default for MariaDB's default port? 3306 that it exposed, as we noticed when we looked at that Docker file. So we know that we need to connect the 3306. It actually would have defaulted to it, but we're adding it for fun. And last but not least, the PMA user, which we call WP user. last two things we need to do. I'm sure you guys have probably caught on to the trend by now. We need to define our networks, and we need to define a port mapping. PHP-MyAdmin, just like WordPress, needs to sit on both front end and back end. Why? Well, it needs to communicate with MySQL or MariaDB, which is sitting in the back end. And if we only stick it in the back end, we're not going to be able to access it from the front end anyway, even if we publish the code. So, right now, here's some fun. So far, as I mentioned, in fact, I already touched on this topic, we can't have two services sitting on the same port. We can't have two services sitting on port 80, which is what PHP-MyAdmin wants to default to. So what we're going to do is change our host port and map it to the appropriate port in the container. So what you will find, following our normal syntax, we're going to have port 8080 exposed and published, the correct terminology, on our host, but internally, PHP-MyAdmin is actually opening up port 80. And last but not least, as mentioned, we need to put it on front end and back end. Now, it's crunch time.
Sorry, what's the difference between line 25 and line 51?
Line 25 and?
And 51? Because so what you've done differently, does that mitigate?
Line 25.
So you've got on the same port.
Okay. You'll notice the first port, line 25, is the normal HTTP port that's going to be published for our web server, port 80. Now, by default, PHP-MyAdmin wants to use exactly the same port. But we can actually tell it to use a different port on the host. In the background, in the container, it's still using port 80, but it's just going to open up a different port for us so that we don't end up with a port collision. So right, as I said, it's crunch time. Wish me luck.
Question. Why do you need PHP-MyAdmin front end?
So that it's publicly available, that we can actually access it. It's a web-based front end, so the browser-based front end, so that we can actually.
But if you publish the code in which network it is? Because it's like internal network.
You're probably right, I haven't actually tried it. You may be right. I might have learned something new. Right. And to bring this up, I need to start using one of the first Docker Compose commands. Docker Compose. With a little bit of luck, if I got my syntax right, because I am bearing in mind human, this should work. Let's find out. No. On board. Let me just go back and double check that. It should be good.
So from which directory will you use the command?
Right?
From which directory?
Your root directory that you're working in, that you created for your project. I see the problem. I forgot the colon in front of version 3.7. I hope that was the problem.
What was before and what did you change?
Yeah, if it was that, it actually needs to be that. Now let's try. Alright, I try to change that. The fix, it's not. Let's go there. My bad. I have made a very, very bad syntax error here. I apologize for this. I am human. Your environment variable, sorry, should not use colons. Please change them to equal signs as I'm currently doing. That was my fault. And it is that habit that I baffled to break. Yep, all of them. Yep, now it's going. Sorry, I apologize, I do make mistakes. Anyway, let's see what's happening. As I mentioned, Docker is built up on layers, so what you can actually now see on my screen, it's starting to bring up or download the various layers, at least now for the moment. Ooh, there's an error. Sorry?
You will see first a command for running.
Oh, sure, sorry.
For more than a second. Talking proposal. And without any parameters.
Yep, so far. I'll give you a breakdown, by the way, of what's going to happen here. There are a couple of different options that we can go through. I can break you down what some of them do. But so far, Docker Compose up without any parameters is going to pull your image, build it up, and you will start seeing logging information popping up to your terminal. So when it starts to try to build things like your MariaDB random password. Okay, you're spacing your syntax for YAML as well. Fix it up for you. You're missing the code, by the way. Alright, let's debug. I want to see try debug what's happening here. PHP my action pool is already allocated. Do I have anything else running at the moment? I might actually. Okay, I understand what that. I see what's happening now. Hang on, one moment.
You can import it.
Sorry?
You can put import it.
Yeah, you can see everything what you felt like. I actually realized I actually already had another demo version running. I forgot the background says it's currently holding public. I will fix that very quickly. Let's see. Right, we're doing a little left this time. There we go. Now we're starting to get it. Now, as I mentioned, you'll start seeing all your login information start popping up if you omit any of the switches. I like to do this from a developer perspective so that as things are happening, you can actually see the logs being logged to stand out. It's not really great when you start running it on servers though. And there's another way to do that. I'm showing it now purely for demonstration purposes. But in fact, there was one thing I mentioned previously. Let's find the line quickly.
For me, it doesn't accept the version declaration latest.
One moment, sorry. Oh yeah, good. No, it's column. Wordpress column. Speed up. Everyone else gets stuck. I apologize for the mistakes. Anybody else need help? I'm sorry, I do apologize for the mistakes, guys. As mentioned, I am human. Unfortunately, we're getting pushed for time, so hopefully, with a little bit of luck. I now have my running container on port 80. I just went into localhost so you guys can see the basic Wordpress setup going.
Yeah. You might run into some other shit.
And after that, we can start defining things like subtitles, etc., etc., etc. Have you guys managed to get there? You guys there now?
Sorry, what are you doing right now? What are you doing right now?
I'm just showing you that it's actually up right here. Okay, it's cool. So far, so good.
that I was expecting to get problems. And you start to think about your context, how it's passing it more context.
No. Very quickly as the last point, so I have managed to get it up and running. You'll notice my Mac now at localhost. I've got the welcome screen available for WordPress. My other service that I defined was PHP-MyAdmin, who I had on port 8080. But yes, last thing before I move on to another demo. Again, we are getting pushed a little bit. You guys remember I said we use that random root password. Have a look at my console. If you guys went through your logs, if you were successful, you would eventually see something like that, which I've highlighted there. Generated root password. You'd obviously copy and save that. That is the version that you're going to have to use. Seeing that there is one more demo that I need to run you guys through. I'm going to need to apologize quickly. Due to time constraints, I wanted to show you guys how to do using environment variables, or how to plug in environment variables using an EMP file. Can I just show you a working example quickly rather than running you guys through it, because there is another demo that I want to do with you guys on PILW-IO. To show you how quickly you can get it up and running on there as well. Alright. In this example, I have two new files up there, .env and .env.dist. .env is my primary file that holds all the environment variables that I would use, and env.dist is what I would make available in GitHub. So in env.dist, I would actually use something like this. That obviously users would actually manually, they would normally have to go copy over env.dist as .env, change the appropriate values, and then I'll show you, well, we can see the values that I defined, at least in this example. If we look inside Docker Compose, you can start seeing where instead of actually hard coding the database name or the database username and password, I've used a nice little syntax to reference the variable from the EMP file so that I can dynamically pop that information in. Obviously the big benefit behind this is a little bit more secure. I don't have to share, especially if you push stuff up to a public GitHub repository, you don't really want hard-coded passwords, so you keep your EMV file to yourself, have your disk with with generic default full-in values. For the last example that I want to show you guys quickly, that was in development environments. That would be ideally, for what I went through now, that would be ideal for me to be able to work in code and have my changes propagated immediately to my host. So that's great.
Sorry, I had a question.
Yeah.
Not related to this though, sorry. Is this order of services important? No, we find that.
Not at all.
Because I'm getting a message error that says that the database is for WordPress kind of start, but database is not being uninitialized.
There's another trick I can show you very, very, very quickly. Where are you getting the error from? PHP-MyAdmin or from WordPress?
WordPress.
So you copy the file? Just the text, with the spaces between the equals. Yeah. example. You guys all have PILW-IO accounts, don't you? You guys should have. Alright, I'm logging with my account. You'll notice that PILW-IO offers container-based services as well. I could have actually, at a production level, done exactly what we did with the Docker Compose file, but using our containers. But I'm going to do something a little bit easier because we've started rolling out something nice and easy. The list so far is kind of small. I've been helping work on a few of the others, and these are the ideas of one-click apps. And it's really going to be, well, one-click is open to interpretation. There will be a little bit of setup involved, but within far less time, you can have your WordPress blog, Magento site, Drupal site set up, the PrestaShop is coming as well, Grafana, a few other services and so forth, defined within a couple of minutes. So my last demo, before we move on to Q&A, I'm going to go into the app catalog, and we can see, so far we have WordPress, Magento, Drupal, and I set up Joomla recently as well. So we're going to go to WordPress. It should be selected by default. Select Configure. And you'll notice that if we look at it, there are two services that are defined. We have DB and Web. In my Docker Compose file, I called them WordPress and MariaDB. Again, the name is completely arbitrary. They're just the two names that whoever defined this particular one-click app decided to call their services. Let's go just quickly, if we wish to configure them. The beauty here, we can start defining CPU cores, we can start defining memory, how many instances we want running. I'm going to leave it at the default for the moment. And in fact, if we wished, you'll notice there's also persistent storage that is available, already mapped to Varl and SQL, so that was our volume that we created. And likewise, we had our environment variable that we defined earlier as well. So that was web. So that's DB, what am I saying? Yeah, it's WordPress, pretty much the same thing. Again, it's mapped our various environment variables, likewise persistent storage. Only this time from a nice intuitive web interface that we don't have to worry about JSON fuck-ups. So we don't have a public host name yet. We do need to give it a group name. I'm going to call it WordPress. And click on create. It does take a minute or two. Okay, still getting up. As mentioned, it does take a little while. Obviously, it's still going to do in the background the same thing that we saw WordPress doing previously. It's going to still pull all those layers, build up all those images. So it takes a minute or two, but I'm sure you guys are going to agree it's a heck of a lot smoother than working with the development type environment. Still on. Gotta be patient. Hopefully soon, I believe, we'll have a feature rolled out where we will actually start to be able to see the same logging information that you would have from the console a little bit more publicly visible so that we can actually start seeing, okay, yeah, things are finally ready to roll out. There we go, now something's happening. And it's done. A little bit quicker than Docker Compose. By the way, all that this is doing, as our last point, is the following. Using the container feature in PILW-IO, you can start mapping out those services pretty much in the same way that we did with the Docker Compose file. You can add persistent storage, expose ports, or publish ports, should we say. We can obviously add, basically build up exactly the same services we had. The one-click apps are pretty much just doing it for you, so just saving you a little bit of time as well. But yeah, I think now we're going to hand it over to Q&A. So hopefully you guys have managed to learn something. First question.
How do I clean up after running all those containers? Do I need to clean up? I don't know, or just take six?
Actually, yeah, sorry, that leads me to one little tip that I'm going to leave you guys with. Docker has a habit, in fact, there's a joke in the Docker community. There's a reason why the logo is a whale. You'll be amazed what it does to hard drive space over time. When you rebuild images, you end up with what you call damaging images. And Docker doesn't quite know what to do with them. So it needs them. And especially when I ended up one day, I was building loads and loads and loads of images over and over and over, and eventually it was like, I only got 50 gigs of storage left on my hard drive. What the fuck has happened because I don't have an angle lot there? Turns out Docker was sucking up all the space. So 2 points I would give you. Especially on a Linux box or in a production vhost, set up a cron job that will periodically, the default is normally 3 a.m. Set up a cron job to run the following command. Docker system -f. What it will do is basically take any networks, volumes, and images that are not being used and wipe them out. There are other ways of doing it as well. There are commands to completely remove images, volumes, containers, and so forth. You can also do it dynamically via Docker Compose. In fact, if you want the Docker Compose version, if you guys want to completely wipe out what you guys did in this project, you can enter the following. Docker Compose down, which will basically destroy everything. The RMI option will just remove images, so it's saying remove all images. The V option says also get rid of the volumes. And remove authors will say, well look, I had a WordPress image, it's not being used by anything else, so trash that as well. And should we go? Any other questions? Otherwise, let's hand it over to Q&A in general.
Yeah, if anybody has questions. I guess this mic is working.
Yeah. So, having,
Maybe it's
if we had successfully, after the console has run through all the scripting and all the execution, were we then able to,
Sorry.
were we then able to view by the web console, either PILW-IO or Docker, what was that?
Yes.
Did you demonstrate that? I don't know if I missed it.
You mean what with builds? Have you brought your stuff down yet?
No, I haven't brought it down.
You haven't? Okay. Unfortunately, I've brought my stuff down already. What I can do is, since you guys have not issued the Docker Compose down, you could run Docker Compose TS. TS just gives you a list of processes that are currently running. You would actually see variety, WordPress, likewise the published and exposed ports. Apologies, I should have, due to time constraints, I should have actually run you guys through that and shown you. Hopefully if you guys haven't brought it down yet, you guys would have noticed through quite happy people that what has been exposed. Sure. Yeah, I'll set the rebuild again.
containers, how to use them. I have one question for you myself. I guess how many of you have used virtual machines for production and such, right? How many of you? I see some hands, right? Okay, I see more hands now. I want to ask how many of you after this kind of workshop feel that you want to learn more about Docker containers, environment, and then therefore go straight into it? Oh, that's really good.
I want to learn more.
So, you probably, a lot of you or most of you are interested in upcoming events on the same topic and going more in depth, right? Yep. All right? Good. Any one of you have maybe their own kind of business related, I don't know, apps or programs or Docker questions that are more specific?
Like practical questions?
Yeah, because if you have, we can answer them right away right now. If you want to do it privately, of course, after the Q&A, you can ask those questions privately, either from Jason, Sven, Eric, or someone else. What else?
Sorry, just to bring you guys back. But I did accidentally break down or destroy my pre-built stuff. Someone did happen to ask, how do we know what's up and running and whether it's not? That was a stage that I skipped, so I'm now going to quickly show you guys how to do that. Alright, Docker Compose PS. You should now see 3 different services. I have Wordpress, by the way, it's named after the folder name as well. The naming convention does suck a little bit, but we can see MariaDB. We can see the command that it ran. It used an entry point script. And we can see that it is exposed port 3306 on TCP. Likewise, I can see PHP-MyAdmin. I can see its command that it ran using supervisor. It's also running up. But you'll notice, here's the difference between where something's exposed and where something's published. It actually comes back to something that you were asking previously. For the published ports, you'll actually see the mapping. 8080 to port 80, and then port 80 and port 80 for our web services as well.
Jason, can we do a quick demo about how you actually now use this, what we learned today on the computers, with, for example, real product on, for example, PILW-IO environment. And by that I mean that you generate code on your computer and then you put the container into the web. Basically, as most of you probably already understood or seen or figured it out, the PILW-IO is one of the cloud services providers. And of course, we are located in Estonia. Database is in Europe. And yeah, so one of the ways you could use your containers or serve your clients is obviously using PILW-IO, and I hope Jason can now show us one way to do it. And of course, if you can't use your own computer, you can create a virtual machine on our environment and do it on there. Yeah. Basically the same. is doing it, then obviously my business cards are there. So if you have any questions in containers, virtual machines, hosting, need any help in that, then you know where to find me. If you can't get the business card or forget my name is Eino, then just go to PILW-IO site, find the contact. I will be in your reach in moments. And I'm here for you. I'm actually located here. So if you want, you can come by, you can ask, whatever. Jason should get sent.
Just assuming that I don't work on that. Remember that Wordpress image that we pulled up? I've been working on it. I added some new themes. I changed the layout a tiny bit. But what I did was I added a new tag to it. And I don't know if you guys noticed, I created a repository in Docker Hub for Wordpress demo. So what I did was quickly tag it on my specific image. I found the image using Docker images. I took its image ID, it's this hash over here. I tagged it as Jason Peter Lamb and WordPress demo, which is the repository that I created. It will automatically tag it as latest. Pushed it up.
You can also do this all by basically once you have done it, you can just use the JSON's code next time.
Setting up